Hi, this is Yaffi Lvova, registered dietitian nutritionist. Happy July 4th, and this is Nap Time Nutrition. A little bit short today because I have a friend in town from my summer camp days when I was younger, and well, I want to go hang out with her. So today we're talking about distracted eating with your toddler, and there are two ways to look at distracted eating. One is you have something at the table, some kind of toy or some kind of media. That's really not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about today is my child is too distracted to eat. You go to the table, the child comes up, eats a couple bites, says, "I'm full," and runs off. And maybe the child isn't really full. So my whole philosophy is, I love Ellen Satter's DOR, division of responsibility. You, the parent, are in charge of what you serve, when you serve it. And the child is in charge of if they eat, how much they eat, and I'm going to also add the pace at which they eat. Well, but sometimes you could have an issue where a child actually is losing weight because they are just not interested in eating. There are too many exciting things going on. So that's what I want to tackle today. For the child who eats a couple bites, says they're full, and is maintaining their growth curve, keep going. You're doing all the right things. Keep doing what you're doing. That's really not a concern. This is specifically for the child who is feeling weight loss effects from being too distracted to eat. So I want to leave that out there. So I'm going to call this Beyond DOR. You want to make sure that your table is a calm environment. You want to make sure that your table is a place where the child wants to be. And this information is good for everybody. You want the table to be free of yelling and free of forcing. And that's straight up division of responsibility. That's not forcing anything on your child. You want to be happy there. You want to have a good time. You want your child to have a good time having a good time with you. So that's the whole eat together thing. So you want to eat together. You want to be present with your child. You want to sit there at the table with your child and ask, how was your day? What did you do today? And whether your child is 1 year old or 5 years old, you can sit at the table and discuss an age-appropriate conversation with your child, letting your child know, I'm here, I'm paying attention to you. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not watching TV. I'm not fill in the blank. I am here spending time with you. And the child will respond well to that. It's also important to model behavior. Here's how to use a fork. Here's how to use a spoon. Here's how to not spit your cherry seeds directly. Oh, thanks, Tiffany. Here's how to spit your cherry seeds not directly onto the plate, but into your hand maybe first. Not that happened at my house 10 minutes ago. Gross. You want to stay positive. If something happens, you want to try to address it in a positive manner. And all of this is really aimed at making the table a pleasant environment for your child. And it should be a pleasant environment for you too. And if you want to have a glass of wine to help with that, by all means. Limit distractions. You don't want to have media at the table. You don't want TV, screens, cell phones at the table, because that's going to interfere with your child understanding when they're hungry and when they're full, when to eat and when to stop. When a child is concentrating on something else other than the food putting in their mouth and how it's affecting their body, then they're going to lose their communication with their body, as it were. They're going to be out of touch with, am I hungry, am I full? So you want to really limit those distractions. But on top of that, some people bring books to the table. You don't want to do that either, because it's them having their focus on something else other than you, other than the food on their plate, other than the act of eating. I'm fine with playing music because that doesn't require interaction. You put music on before the meal, you just let it play. It's fine. You're not going to get up and mess with it. You're not going to be skipping songs. You're not going to touch it. It's on in the background. Leave it. Wow, lots of giggles for nap time up there. So set some clear rules at your table. You want to maintain a good schedule. As I mentioned with the division of responsibility, the parent decides the where and the when. Well, the when should be fairly consistent. The where should also be fairly consistent as much as possible. But you want to have meal times and then snack times in between them, roughly 2 hours in between, no less than 2 hours for sure. But the child needs to know, I haven't eaten in about 2 hours, so it gives me room for appetite, and I know roughly when to expect the next meal. And that's going to contribute to your child having an appetite but not being starving, and having better behavior and better response to the meal in front of them at the table. So we have some rules. The age-appropriate rules are do you have the rule that everyone has to sit together at the table? Do you have the rule that everyone should wait until you sit down before they start eating? And you have to decide if any of this is age-appropriate, because that isn't appropriate for a 2-year-old, but it may be appropriate closer to 4 or 5 years old. Everyone sits until everyone's done. Do they have some chores related to the meal? Are they clearing the table? And these things need to be consistent, and that consistency will reinforce the routine, and the routine is going to help get the behavior that you're desiring. Listen to your child, listening to his or her body. And I touch on this all the time. Kids are born with the innate knowledge of when they're hungry and when they're full, and how much food needs to be in their belly to make them full. You don't know. Let's take an example. When's the last time you had cereal? Think about it. Okay, when's the last time you looked at the cereal box and said, a serving of this cereal is 1 cup. I'm going to measure out a cup and pour it in the bowl. You don't know. You judge based on what your stomach feels like and your hunger signals, how much roughly you want to eat. Do you want a little cereal or a lot? And you pour it in the bowl regardless of what's on the nutrition facts. And I'm totally on board with that. It's just an example that you are guesstimating how much cereal you're going to eat. And you can do that because your eyes are in your head and the same body that contains your stomach. Your child is a different person, separate from you. I know, take a minute to conceptualize that. Different person. You can't, with your eyeballs, figure out how much they need to be full. But they can. Maybe not with their eyeballs. Maybe they're not going to fill their plate appropriately. But they're going to eat appropriately, and they're going to stop eating when they're full. So really you need to respect that, because if you stop respecting when they're hungry and when they're full, and you start forcing and saying, I think you have not had enough to make your stomach full, then you're going to start having some issues with that. Sorry, there's a lot of noise going on. You're going to start having some issues with that, where they're going to lose touch with their body. They're going to say, I need to listen to mommy. I need to clear the plate. None of that is true. They need to eat when they're hungry and stop when they're full. And by you respecting their response to their own hunger signals, it's going to set them up for future happiness, future healthy relationship with food, which is really the goal. So you should also reference, if you're having this issue where your child is just not eating a whole lot, reference the Naptime Nutrition that I did on milk addiction. Is your child having too much milk? Is it offsetting the calories that they need to be getting from food? I did a whole topic on that, so you can go check that out. And I'm going to say bye now, and happy July 4th. I hope you're all having a great holiday with your families, and eat together, be present with your kids. Hopefully mine take a nap. And I will see you next week, Tuesday, 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Naptime Nutrition. Thanks for the thumbs up. And I'm open to topics. Come check me out on Facebook. You're already on my page. Instagram, I'm trying to be better about that. Pinterest.com/Yaffi, Y-A-F-F-I. And Toddler Test Kitchen. I do it. Oh, thanks. Happy 4th to you, Tiffany. Toddler Test Kitchen, private or public, at Hallie Hart Children's Museum. And I also do private and small group counseling. So come hit me up on my website, babybloomnutrition.com, and see you next week.